Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secureteam, and the first thing I want to start off with today is yet another attack by what some would say the government or opposition-controlled mainstream media targeted specifically at your right to be a free and critical thinker. This all comes after a new article was posted to Slate.com, Slate magazine, many of you have probably heard of it, with the title, quote, "Streaming services have a conspiracy theory problem," with the subtitle, quote, "But the answer isn't for Netflix and Amazon Prime to just remove the terrible documentaries." And so this article, which I'll put the link to down below, you can head over and read it, and boy, is it a mouthful. This thing just goes on and on and on. But basically, instead of just targeting YouTubers, as they've done in the past couple of years, it would seem that they now have Netflix and Amazon in their sights, specifically going after the very documentaries and independent films that cover a range of different topics, from vaccinations to the New World Order, to aliens, to UFOs, to space, and so on. And what the writer of the article says, quote, "If you have Amazon, you can watch these viruses squirming in their petri dish, eager to be released." And the summary basically begins talking about documentaries having to do with vaccines, how you can find them readily available on both Amazon Prime and Netflix, then going on to target the analysis of what happened on 9/11, finally tackling the alien phenomenon, specifically a film that was recently released called Patient 17, which we spoke about on the channel before, about alien implants, and specifically a well-known doctor who over the years had removed dozens upon dozens of these mysterious, otherworldly objects found all over the bodies of various abductees and eyewitnesses. And one thing I noticed in this article is that it repeated a few sets of words, the first of which was misinformation and half-truths, essentially casting a huge net over every single documentary that you can find on Netflix or Amazon that has anything to do with expanding your mind and not simply accepting the status quo and the so-called truth that the mainstream would have you believe. And granted, there are some pretty crazy conspiracy-type documentaries out there, but according to this article, they're all bad. They're all wrong. And they deserve to be taken off of Netflix and Amazon, and likely the internet, because you guys out there are simply not mature enough, apparently, to analyze the facts and come to your own conclusions. Another word used the most, it's even in the title of the article, is that of conspiracy theories, or theorists, which is a term that I seldom use, and that is because I think it does a disservice to what we're trying to do here. Critical thinker is what I would call myself and you guys if I had to coin a term, because as the facts and the evidence have shown, and I think we've displayed that on this channel over the years, is that many of what they would call crazy conspiracy theories have been found to have been supported by some rock-solid evidence. And furthermore, we know what the government is capable of. They've been caught numerous times and even admitted to a few of their deeds and cover-ups themselves. And so, I would think that all of you guys, and hopefully you would agree with me on this, which is that there is a continued and growing fight against free thought and critical thinking. We've been witnessing it, especially over the past year, on YouTube, with various channels who talk about certain topics, including Secureteam, being silenced, censored, slandered, demonetized, and deleted. That along with a growing group of mainstream outlets who, due to our popularity and the popularity of topics like this, are on their last legs. And so they want us gone. And specifically these mainstream outlets who are funded, in part or fully, by dark places within the government. But again, to my fellow Insomnia team members, I urge you to remember that critical thought is of a paramount importance, especially today, with all of the strange and mysterious and unexplained things happening around the world. And we will continue this search in the face and in despite of articles like this, hit pieces attempting to put pressure on some of these major players to take documentaries and work like we do here down from the web, so that you no longer have alternative narratives and facts, and you have to listen to exactly what they tell you, but we're not going to let that happen. There's too many of us, millions all around the world, and so to Slate and all of the other mainstream outlets who have been coming after us recently, we see right through your agenda, and we're not going anywhere soon. So, with that little piece of news, let's go ahead and move forward into some other strange things that have continued happening around the world over the past months and year, and it seems to be growing. With every new month that goes by, we are seeing not only more mysterious and or extreme weather, but we're also seeing strange and extreme behavior coming from the wildlife around Earth, whether it be birds, deer, raccoons, insect life. And well, now we have even more animal strangeness, where it would seem that wildlife is becoming even more and more aggressive. The first of which comes after a 76-year-old woman was attacked by a bison in Yellowstone National Park on Tuesday afternoon, where she was butted in the thigh, pushed up and tossed off of a trail by the bison after she was walking around a blind corner on a trail before witnessing the animal dropping its head and charging at her. Now, oddly enough, this just happened after the week before in Yellowstone Park. There was some sort of commotion that occurred, and it was captured on a web camera that records an area of the park 24/7. We've captured numerous strange UFO sightings and mysterious things happening on the camera, but this time, there was a sighting of what appeared to be an explosion of light caught on the camera, along with fire and police later showing up. And we're still trying to figure out what exactly happened and what was captured, because I can't seem to find any news reports regarding this incident. Now, in other news, speaking of this animal behavior, now locals in both Florida and Texas are dealing with a wave of aggressive alligators that have been making their presence felt all over, beginning in the final weeks of April, with residents from both states, Florida and Texas, sent into a panic as these massive gators stopped traffic, invaded porches, and even approached a Target store over the weekend. And so some have said that this mysterious animal behavior, where around certain parts of the world, in the United States, we're seeing animals act more aggressively, and in other spots, local wildlife completely vanishing altogether. And what many believe is a concrete indicator of changes happening within planet Earth, which would seem to correlate perfectly with a lot of these mysterious lights we've seen in the sky, the massive booms and rumblings, both in the sky and felt from underground, shaking houses all over the world. And what's even more scarier, and that has been occurring over the past day or so, is what many are saying is the imminent eruption of Hawaii's most active volcano. This after hundreds of earthquakes hit in a swarm, shaking the eastern side of the Big Island, prompting concerns that the Kailua volcano could erupt, with residents now being told to prepare and get ready to evacuate, with officials having since closed off nearly 15,700 acres of land due to the, quote, possibility of a new eruption and unstable geologic activity. This after beginning Monday, there were hundreds of earthquakes, most of them at around a 2.0 magnitude, recorded in the area, followed by tremors that have been going on up to today, and what are said to be, quote, nearly constant ground vibrations in some areas. And with one resident, Carol Shepard, stating, quote, it has now become unnerving. The U.S. Geological Survey is monitoring for steam and heat escaping from the cracks, which would indicate the intrusion of molten rock underground moving throughout the city. And yeah, I mean, it truly is frightening. And so I hope that all of you living out there in Hawaii, you're going to be safe. Get out if you think something's going to happen, and hopefully nothing will. So lastly today, before we go, I want to show you guys a new clip of the President of the United States pushing the idea of a, quote, space force, which would represent the 6th branch of the U.S. military.
My new national strategy for space recognizes that space is a warfighting domain, just like the land, air, and sea. We may even have a space force, develop another one. Space Force. We have the Air Force, we'll have the Space Force. We have the Army, the Navy. You know, I was saying it the other day because we're doing a tremendous amount of work in space. I said, maybe we need a new force. We'll call it the Space Force. And I was not really serious. And then I said, what a great idea. Maybe we'll have to do that. That could happen. That could be the big breaking story. Look at all those people back there. Look at that.
Okay, and so, yeah, what do you guys think? A lot of people who have spoken with about this believe that this so-called Space Force has already been in existence for years, and that may be one of the places where these trillions and trillions of dollars that are completely unaccounted for and that have gone missing over the years have been funneled to. And that now it's time for them to tell the world, or at least throw us some crumbs. That way they would be able to then fund it legitimately through new budgets and Congress, as opposed to funding it through dark military programs. Because we can't exactly have trillions of dollars coming up missing every few years, especially with as many eyes as there are on the powers that be as we speak, calling them out for any little indiscretion. So tell me what you guys think of this so-called Space Force. Why do you think that the president is now reinforcing the idea of developing such a force? And is there a more sinister reason why such a force would need to be put into place as soon as possible? Be sure to let me know what you think down below. So with that, I want to thank you all for stopping by today. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, where I constantly post updates as to when new videos are coming. And in the face of such growing pressure against the research in this phenomenon, I say, long live critical thinking. You guys stay safe, and I'll see you back in just a bit.